everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Welcome back to another video. Well, they just can't seem to put the shovel down now, can they? Despite being called out by literally all the media organizations and thousands of negative comments online at least 5 times already this year alone, Harry and Meghan are still trying to piggyback off of or steal/share the spotlight of the royal family, of the real royals during important or poignant moments. If you needed further evidence that the talk of reconciliation and Harry really wanting to make amends and Meghan really not wanting to deal with any of this drama anymore were fake stories just put out to help their own PR image, their own public image, then look no further than this past couple of weeks, in which both Harry and Meghan had publicity stunts during really important, tender moments for the royal family. They don't want reconciliation. They are still continuing their petty press games. Hi everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me. Before we begin, please consider subscribing. It really helps out. It's totally free. And leave a comment to help out the algorithm if you do not mind. If you don't know what to comment, just leave a yellow heart. It's my favorite color. Well, Catherine, the Princess of Wales' video dropped. It was very, very welcome news. It broke the internet. People were thrilled to hear it. It was so sweet. And within hours of this, a teaser for Harry's polo series, mockumentary thing, hit the internet. What? Why? What are you doing? What is happening? Everyone agrees that this is gross behavior. Everyone. It's unnecessary, it's small, it's foolish, and this time they had Netflix involved in the same nonsense. Furthermore, it's quite frankly terrible PR, especially with news as big as Catherine's, such positive and pure news as being like, hey, I've gotten through this health struggle. For goodness sakes, on this particular occasion, it's like the worst idea you could possibly have. And it would seem that literally every news organization agreed because Harry's news has been completely buried. It's very hard to find. No one cares. It didn't serve the purpose of advertising or providing publicity for his series really at all. The point of a post like Harry's was to drum up interest in the series, but instead it was completely ignored because something much more important was in the news, obviously. You cannot compete with the real royals having something monumental hit the airwaves. You might be able to compete a little bit with just everyday news, like, oh, they went and did this visit, or oh, they have this occasion that's not like a huge deal, like just a regular visit to a charity or something like that. They might be able to compete a little bit for headline space, but not with something like this. There is no competition here. And that's exactly what makes it look just petty, like exclusively petty. Because if it's not getting publicity, it's not catching people's attention for your project, then it's just a spiteful move. It's only to satisfy his mean-spirited urge to harass Catherine online. It's super weird. It comes across as almost rageful given the circumstances, but it's nothing new here. Harry and Meghan are really great examples of toxic people who stubbornly think that they're right and refuse to see any flaws in their ways at all. Continuing to pathetically attempt to compete and repeatedly fail miserably at it proves only that the Sussexes are the problem here. That they have no interest in mending fences. That all those press pieces are just puff to soften their image. Self-serving narcissistic tactics. They're not actually hoping to repair relationships with the royal family, because if they were, they wouldn't have done these stunts. They would have specifically told Netflix and anybody else that they're working with and anybody who they send jam to please avoid posting it on such and such days. Please avoid posting it on a day that the royal family or Catherine has news about their health, things like that. They would specifically ask. On Trooping the Color, when it was a big deal for King Charles and for Catherine, the Princess of Wales, one of her only appearances this year, we saw it happen on the Wales children's birthdays, on the Prince and Princess of Wales's birthdays as this happened. We've seen it happen after other important announcements. It's obvious. There is no coincidence. We all agreed. Back on Trooping the Color, everybody agreed there's no more coincidences here. This is just par for the course for the Sussexes, being super crappy as usual. But it wasn't just Harry. Shortly after Catherine's announcement in her beautiful video, Meghan also pulled a stunt. On the anniversary of the Queen's passing, Meghan was in attendance on both nights of an opening of bookstore outside Montecito, which is a boutique bookstore, an independent one, where the collection is curated and caters to a specific crowd with particular interests. The internet seemed especially annoyed that Harry and Meghan's books were on the Hometown Heroes shelf, which is funny, doesn't make sense. Neither of them are like from Montecito, they just live there now. Look, I think supporting local authors is great, obviously, but these two aren't exactly in need of support on top of it. The Bench is a drab and sorry excuse for a children's book, and Spare was actually written by a ghostwriter, not by Harry himself, and it's full of inaccuracies. My biggest beef with that book, beyond it being horrible, is that it shouldn't be in the autobiography nonfiction category at all. It's fiction, plain and simple, in every sense of the word. Let's take a look at what she wore for this. This jumpsuit, as many have noted, is another copy of something Princess Diana wore. It is weird. No coincidences here. Super weird, super gross. The internet's consensus is it does have a pretty weird vibe to think about it. Your spouse dressing up as one of your parents, okay? I mean, just for that weirdness alone, you would want to avoid doing it at all costs. But she doesn't. She leans into it. This outfit, it's her standard halter neck that she's really stuck in, but she popped the collar up here, shortening her neck further. Bad idea. This one doesn't come off quite as shoulder heavy, in part because this looks to be almost like a denim texture. It's like a heavier fabric. So it really kind of draws the eye to the fabric itself because it has a little bit of texture, so that kind of helps. But the fit of it still, once again, looks kind of off. It is shoulder heavy. I like the ponytail. I think that was a good choice for her. Straight leg is definitely the best option. Skinny jeans or skinny pants, skinny fit to the trousers is going to accentuate the thinness of her limbs and thus the boxiness of her torso in turn. So not doing skinny is good. These ones might have a little bit too much of a flare, but I don't love it. It's not the worst. For this particular event, it's okay. It's not too over the top and it's not too casual. The funniest thing that happened here was that Oprah came in the middle of Meghan talking and she literally stumbles over what she's saying because she's wanting it to be filmed and she thinks she's saying something super important and she notices that Oprah is blocking the camera here for her footage and she sort of tries to hesitate so that she doesn't have to re-say it because she can't re-say it because she wants the footage uninterrupted and it's being interrupted and she looked super annoyed about it. But this little moment just demonstrated that no matter where she is, it is always a self-serving purpose. She went to this and had her microphone moment so that she could get footage of it to be posted online. That's why. The people could still hear her talking. They didn't need her to pause because Oprah was taking her seat. She paused because she wanted the footage. So self-serving purposes are laced within everything Meghan does, obviously. Regardless, it's safe to say the bookstore didn't really get themselves any positive publicity inviting these two to the opening, Harry and Meghan here. He even recommended his book to someone who asked him for a book recommendation. Super cringe. Clearly he does not read. They needed a bit of a diversion anyway after the embarrassment of American Riviera Orchard Montecito being rejected, its trademark, very sternly. I believe they can still market things, they just can't trademark it. So we'll have to see if she decides to change it or just proceed without a trademark, which would prevent it from becoming a real strong brand without a trademark. It's something that anybody can use and say, so you don't really want to do that. Many people have pointed out since her show's done wrapping, if they have American Riviera Orchard Montecito laced throughout it, that's going to become a big problem. They even had a problem with the logo, which just looks like scribbles, because duh, it's just scribbles. It makes sense. We all knew that this was a disaster in terms of branding. I have many videos dissecting all the problems with the branding of this thing that she's trying to launch. I will link for you. But it's definitely not a good sign in terms of the timeline of this project for her. And it's further evidence in terms of the sinking ship that they are on with staff, how unsavvy she is in a business arena and how she doesn't have the staff to help her, or at least they're not trying. It's kind of like clocking in and not really trying because you're not getting paid enough. That sort of a thing. Some people compared this to the Skims Kimono drama. If you don't know, briefly, Kim Kardashian, when she was launching her shapewear brand, it was originally going to be called Kimono. And she came under fire for that idea because of the whole cultural dynamics of it, but also the trademark got turned down, so she switched it to Skims. The huge difference everybody's missing is that Kim clearly had a backup plan of Skims. Skims, as a brand, launched very shortly after the trademark for Kimono fell through. So she was prepared. She had a backup on hand just in case it didn't work out. Meghan definitely does not have any backups at the ready. But back to the bookstore opening, Meghan took the opportunity to announce once again that she's in her era of joy. And even amongst this crowd, that likely sounded a little self-indulgent. But regardless, I'm not sure that essentially media stalking someone recovering from cancer, the beloved Princess Catherine that is, really sounds like somebody who is in a chapter of joy. But what do you think? Time for question of the day. Anne Terry asked, does Harry and Meghan showing up late provide them with an entrance to make them the main attraction? Why, yes, it does. But it's bad manners, no matter where you are, no matter who you are, to show up late. Now, when somebody says a party starts at a certain time and you show up a little bit late, that kind of is okay, kind of. It makes sense. Most people don't show up right on time to a party, something where people kind of dip in and dip out because there's lots and lots of guests, one would assume. A dinner party or a dinner, no, not the same. You need to be on time for that because food's being served. So there's some certain areas where it makes sense, but the stuff that we see with Harry and Meghan, it's not a situation where being on time is optional. It's just not. Those people have gotten there on time. You need to be on time too. So yeah, I definitely think it's an ego trip thing for them being late all of the time. And at this point, you know, we've all had people in our lives who are constantly late, and when you start telling them an hour or two earlier, because it wastes your time when they're late. It takes away from your day because then you're ready on time. And what are you going to do while you're waiting for them? You just have to sit around. So you start telling them, oh yeah, show up at 2 when really the thing doesn't start till 3 or 4. It's just more ego and rudeness from Harry and Meghan, in my opinion. But what is your opinion? Leave it in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye.